Hey, it's Mazzy. Welcome back. I want to thank you. Apparently, I was notified in the last week or so that in the last month, sometimes in the middle of the night, possibly while I was sound asleep, that I eclipsed 10 million views on this channel. 10 million! Don't you have anything better to do? We're in strange times, good, bad, and ugly, and the music, the music is what it's about. It's the music, stupid, literally, but it is the music. All my life, even at my late stage of my age group, I still love music, old, new, futuristic, all kinds of stuff. Futuristic is not a genre. Maybe it is. Kraftwerk, that's not. That's so 1973, right? Fun as the Autobahn. Anyway, whack-a-mole. I haven't done a whack-a-mole in 2 months. This might be the longest period that I haven't done a whack-a-mole. And if you're new to the channel, whack-a-mole is where I randomly pick 5 records from my collection and I showcase them. But since I've hit 10 million views of my video, I think I'm going to do more. I'm not going to do 10 million, so don't worry. I'll do 10. That's kind of like a percentage, and it's 10. There's 10. 10 is the root word of this. So random pulls, showcase it now again. I didn't invent the random pull, but I put the name Whack-A-Mole, the arcade game, into random pulls, and it's become a thing, right? A meme in a way. But anyway, thank you. There's been so much kind of cool new records and releases the last few months this year already. And so I've been busy with that. So I haven't had time for as many whack-a-moles as I like. What's good about the whack-a-mole, I really don't have to do any work up front. I don't have to think about what I'm going to say about an album, even though most of my videos are off the top of my head. I do very little scripting. No scripting. I might do a few bullet points. And there's a lot of great new things coming out, and I will showcase them. But the essence of this channel for me has always been my collection. Now, new, of course, I like to showcase new music, and I appreciate music that some of the labels have sent me. And some people, their heads blow up when people showcase records they've gotten as promos. But that's been something historically a part of the record business. Having been it myself, I was the guy giving out promos at one point. I've been on both ends, on the recipient back in the 70s into the 80s, and gave them away to record store people, promo people, reviewers, anyone who would possibly share their opinions on the records. And now those of us on YouTube, it's no different. It's just a different medium, that's all. Having said that, let's dive into 10 random. I'll do 5 and 5, and I'll showcase them. So here we go. I have box sets in the way here too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You probably saw this. I didn't even see it because you're closer to that camera. So the first 5. All right, 1968, the debut on Fantasy Records. This is Creedence Clearwater Revival. It's so amazing that they have this swampy New Orleans style sound, and they're from El Cerrito, California. The Fogerty brothers. How come brothers can never get along in bands? What's that about? Stu Cook and Doug Clifford. And they became a phenomenon. I mean, was it 1969 alone? They had 3 records. But I tell you, I'm always partial to this. My friend Danny Walker, late Danny Walker, who was in the band I was in as a kid. His father, George Walker, was a criminal attorney in San Francisco. Big attorney. He handled Jim Marshall, the photographer, on drug and gun charges. That great late, everyone's late now in this video so far. A photographer. He also handled the Hells Angel at Altamont, who shot the guy. Criminal lawyer. But he took Danny and I to the San Francisco International Pop Festival, October 1968. It was at the Alameda Fairgrounds across the bay, and it was the first festival I'd ever been to. I was 14 years old. Creedence played, and this album had just come out. Of course, the cover of Dale Hawkins' Susie Q. I love this record. Also a great version, I Put a Spell on You, it opens up with. And You know, just a soulful, swampy, great record. Yeah, they had more hits later, but this was the record that FM radio really kind of started playing, Creedence. And they almost stood out in the whole San Francisco Bay Area rock scene. They would play the Fillmore and the ballrooms, but they were the singles band. In some ways, they seemed separate because they were heavily played on AM radio, where a lot of the other, except for maybe the Jefferson Airplane for a while, never got AM hit massive play. So Creedence, Clearwater Revival. This is interesting. Okay, this was a recent issue, and this is Assembly. This is a Joe. Is this a Joe Strummer comp? This is on Dark Horse Records, Danny Harrison's label, or reviving his father George Harrison's label, Dark Horse Records. They've been doing some interesting things. This came out in 220. You know, to be honest with you, I can't remember if this is a comp. This is probably a comp of some things. But I keep thinking back, what is it, about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, to that documentary Julian Temple did on Joe Strummer. Of course, if you obviously know who he is, if you don't, he was the original member of the Clash, and then had his project with the Mescaleros, did a short stint with the Pogues. Joe Strummer Assembly. There's a great version of Redemption Song on here, which I just love. And now, I don't know, I can't remember if this is the same version. It almost seems like the take that he does alone is the same version, I could be wrong, he does as a duet with Johnny Cash, because they kind of trade off verses. And I love that on the later American Johnny Cash stuff, a Redemption Song, of course, the Bob Marley song. But this is a cool record, double record set. I'm going to play this this afternoon now that I pulled it, but I haven't heard it in a while. Oh, speak of the devil. I had no idea that I just mentioned Kraftwerk. Okay, this came out a few years ago, 22, excuse me. Kraftwerk remixes. This is a 2-record comp with the reissue series that came out a few years ago. I know they just reissued their albums. I don't have originals anymore, except for the first American Vertigo of a promo that I got when I first got into Kraftwerk in '73. But to be honest with you, I didn't follow them their entire career. But the last few years, I picked up their reissues. I'm fine with reissues. I don't need original. I'm not that kind of collector anymore. So as long as I enjoy the music, it doesn't really matter. But I just thought this was a cool package. I think some critics and really deep, dark fans, deep dive fans, I should say, of Kraftwerk aren't into the remixes. This is kind of a comp that came out that has a bunch of things from various albums. I'm not as well versed with Kraftwerk to tell you everything about them in terms of the history of the records and the remixes and everything. But I thought this was a cool enough cover to get it from Dusseldorf, Germany. Kraftwerk. There is a video, seek it out, on my channel. It's one of my favorite videos. It's Michael 45, who is from Dusseldorf, and I doing a bit of a debate of the Beatles versus Kraftwerk. And I had a great time doing that. So if I think about it, I'll put a link below, but just search Maslov Kraftwerk, and it's Michael 45 out in Dusseldorf, us doing a bit of having fun talking about the two bands. Of course, I'm on the Beatles side. He's on the Kraftwerk side. It's amazing how much Kraftwerk ripped off the Beatles. All right. This is a reissue on Sundays of Kaleidoscope. Sundays is the label. Bill Irwin's label. They did a lot of stuff, mostly a lot of Columbia reissues. He left it finally. He retired, but they also have a side label, Modern Harmonic, and has a lot of like Sunron experimental things. They've done a lot of Columbia reissues, updated mono versions in some cases of Donovan and Dylan and Moby Grape for a while until they got the Matthew Cates cease and desist. But Kaleidoscope is this American. There was a British also Kaleidoscope. This is not that. They're kind of a folksy country psychedelic band. Claim to fame in terms of celebrity status before he was who he is before he was known as David Lindley, who played with all the LA scene, everyone from Jackson Browne to Warren Zevon, a lot of the LA albums that David Lindley was on, even Linda Ronstadt. So this is a Sundazed issue of this Kaleidoscope album, Side Trips. I think this was originally on Epic. Am I wrong about that? I think so. But Bill Irwin was in A&R and for years at Columbia, so I think he had that connection. That's why a lot of the stuff, Sunday's reissue, was from Columbia. Oh, this is nice. I can't remember if this started during the pandemic, but this is Lou's Jukebox series, Lucinda Williams. Big fan of Lucinda Williams. She did a lot of these cover albums, very much live in the studio, simple production during the pandemic with a small knit group of musicians. This one is obviously Bob Dylan. This is Bob Dylan's Back Pages, a night of Bob Dylan songs. And this is it's a single with a gatefold, double album, I'm sorry. It's a double album with a gatefold. 3 sides, okay? 3 sides. Let's compromise. Not 2, not 4, but 3. She also did a Tom Petty one. She did an R&B one. She did a Beatle one at Abbey Road after the pandemic that they recorded most of it at Abbey Road. And that's excellent as well. I just like these almost off the cuff. The pandemic, if there's anything good about that time, people kind of retreated and did things kind of lo-fi. And I don't mean lo-fi sound-wise in terms of this, because it sounds really good. But like they really just did things for the love of it. You know, obviously we all experienced different things during that period of time. And this was something I think really interesting that came out of it. In all these series, not everything is totally successful, but they're fun records. And I love her garbled interpretations of these Dylan songs and the rest of them. So that was 5. Was that 5 already? So 5 more. Here we go. I'm not going to do the Beatles and jazz wall there. I just don't feel like being on that side of it anymore today. 2, 3, stretch, 4, and 5. I got to put these away. I don't have a librarian. I never saw her solo, but I am all in on Bjork. I did see the Sugar Cubes when they toured and they came through San Francisco originally. I always forget the names of these records. You know, the thing about Bjork, I love all her music. Obviously, artsy, avant-garde electronica, sometimes more dancey, very experimental, to be one of the true auteurs. I did a video that I still think is one of my favorites, and it got okay views, but not. It's basically Beck and Bjork, the two most original, interesting artists of the last quarter century, and I still believe that. Beck and Bjork have done some really crossover stuff. I want Beck to do some other things now. He's been into this sort of upbeat, dancey mode of his work, electronic, for a while, and which is fine. An artist needs to do what they need to do, but I would like Beck to now do something different. And we still need the Prince album he did, Midnight Vultures, his Prince take, which is amazing. We need that on vinyl. He's been teasing us. Hasn't been on vinyl since the first issue. It's extremely rare. That's one of that and The Information need to be reissued. I digress here, but it always reminds me when I think of, now they're musically nothing alike really, but I could see Beck and Bjork collaborating on something really interesting. Obviously with Bjork, it's really about the image, the fashion, the artistic, the visual statements. I can't say anything specific about this. Look at the photography and the design of these, this headwear, this headgear. It's so friggin' cool. I've got all these when, I guess it's Little Indian, her label, reissued these like about a decade ago. I think they're still in print or they come in and out of print. Beautiful color vinyl, you know. I don't really care about color as long as it's pressed well. Color is as same as black, as long as it's good vinyl and it's pressed well. If there's noise, that means the vinyl was shitty and it wasn't pressed well. It's not about the color, although sometimes metallic vinyls and fluorescent vinyls will have more issues than other. But anyway, I don't have any specific knowledge of songs. Bjork is one of those artists I really kind of just put on and let it envelop me. I don't think of, oh, I want to hear that song as much. It's not about that for her, for me at least. And I'll just grab any Bjork album. Not that they're totally interchangeable, because they're not, but I'll put one on when I'm in the mood for her. Early albums are a little more from the Sugar Cubes DNA more than the later stuff. Oh, this is a Vinyl Me Please. I want to give a shout out. I think it was Chance, my friend Chance, the sports vinyl community member, who sent me this, gifted me this, which is great. Now, I love the Grateful Dead, of course. This is Anthem of the Sun. Now there are different mixes. This is the original mix of the 68, because what happened is this is all A lacquer cut by Chris Bellman. Okay. I remember in the early 70s, they did a remix. And I remember right here in the credits, it talks about the remix. And a lot of people really wanted the original mix. There was a whole thing about this album. There was mix of studio and live stuff mixed in. It's a very psychedelic record. Vinyl Me Please, I've never been a member of Vinyl Me Please. I've maybe bought 8 or 9 records a la carte from them over the years, not as a member, so I paid $5 more. I just don't like to be a member of any. I don't want to be a part of someone who had me for a member, the old Groucho Marx then Woody Allen misquote or requote on that. I just don't need a membership. I want to pick and choose what I want. I don't want to be force-fed a genre. It's not my DNA in record collecting. But this is a cool record. It's not one of my favorite records, but it's a period of time, obviously, with Pigpen, and this is the Dead. This, in fact, 68 is the first year I saw the Dead, accidentally riding my bike on Haight Street from Golden Gate Park, and that massive, on the gatefold of Live Dead. I'm somewhere there. Never found myself. I'm over by the Straight Theater, which would be left on the side, off the sidewalk. Here's a comp on Capitol Records, the best of Chad and Jeremy. Remember that this was a day, those of you of a certain age will remember, we couldn't tell the difference between Chad and Jeremy and Peter Gordon. One was tall, one was short, one had glasses, one didn't. Of course, this is the one without Peter Asher. This is Chad and Jeremy, and of course, the big hit, which is wonderful, is a summer song. And it literally is just that, a summer song. Yesterday's Gone, is that that was the other hit they had. Now, at some point they did, maybe it's not on here. Did they cover Leonard McCartney as well? No, yeah, From a Window, that's the one. The From a Window, that's the period where Lennon and McCartney were just churning out songs and giving away to part of Brian Epstein's stable as well as other artists. It's that kind of lost. Chad and Jeremy and Peter and Gordon seem to have been lost in history. But you hear the song, you hear Summer Song, you hear the Chad and Jeremy and the Peter and Gordon songs, World Without Love on there, and you just have your heart back to it. They're very catchy, beautiful, kind of in the folk rock realm of those duos there. But and one of them, I think it was Chad and Jeremy. I always get confused which one. Chad and Jeremy or Peter Gordon was on the Dick Van Dyke Show in an episode. You're going to tell me because I forgot. But I have a bunch. I got all these kind of British invasion artists albums by them. I still have them. I always talk about this band, or I have many times. Procol Harum's, this is Grand Hotel. Now, this was a period of time, I remember when Grand Hotel came out in the 70s, this would have been 73, I wasn't really into it. It was a little too slow and building, soulful, and of course, the great Gary Brooker on those great vocals. Matthew Fisher, was he still with them at this point? Obviously, uh, the guitar player, Robin Trower had left. And I wish he hadn't, but he was not fulfilled artistically as much, but he really was great on those, especially Salty Dog. And that took a while for me to warm up a Salty Dog, but I fucking love this record now. There's a great quote on here because it says, overview, Gary Brooker and Keith Reed of Procol Harum are the only people we could ever compare ourselves to. And that was written by Elton John and Bernie Taupin, mainly because, if you don't know, Keith Reed was a part of the band, but not in the band. He wrote all the lyrics, or at least all the lyrics of the music that Gary Brooker wrote, very much like Bernie Taupin to Elton John. And then it says, Procol Harum are very good. Gary Brooker is a great vocalist, Jimmy Page. That's sort of a mild compliment. But this record has grown on me and grown in stature in my house over the years. This and Exotic Birds and Fruit, with that beautiful painting on the cover. They're kind of back-to-back records. This is a series also that only came out about 10 years ago in the UK. I ordered them all up, and I don't know why they haven't done really great reissues of these out here. Someone needs to take these records that were on Chrysalis by this point in America and get those tapes and do a great series. This emulated the CD because it's a 2-record set, and it has raw tracks and demos or outtakes on the second LP. I think these are also colored vinyl. I mean, they're fine. I'm sure they're from a digital source, but I have no problem with them. Yeah, each one. And I got all of the Chrysalis, these, and they included not just the Chrysalis stuff, it included the earlier ones. But Procol Harum, this label, this is part of EMI, Salvo, but I think they deserve a reevaluation. Everyone knows Wider Shade of Pale, of course, but Gary Brooker, we lost him in the last 2 years or so. Grand Hotel, it's an epic record. It's art rock. You got to say there's a little prog in their DNA thing, but prog people are so protective of their genre that they don't feel that groups like Procol Harum or 10cc have any relation to prog, but they do, and that's a fact, Jack. And lastly, okay, this is interesting. I haven't played this in a while. This is an import on Sire, I believe. Yeah, I think this is an import. And is this the one produced by George Martin? It is. Part of it is produced. Most of this is produced. Some of this is produced by George Martin. This is Stackridge. And they're, again, kind of an arty, light prog thing. They got a little bit of the folk thing. I got to listen to this again because it's been a number of years. It's kind of a cool album. This is a promo I got. I'm thinking 73 or so. Oh, 75. 1975. So this is a promo that I got in 1975. Oh, produced by Tony Ashton, except a few tracks produced by George Martin. Engineers Jeff Emmerich. Okay. So there's that, obviously, Beatle connection there. Part of it was recorded at Air Studios, which was George Martin's studio in London, and then, of course, on the island that got burned down or anything. But, yeah, this is an American promo. Now, this is when Sire was a part of ABC Records before they went to Warner Brothers, that group. But, I don't remember specifics. I need to pull this. I'm going to leave this out and play it. And there you go. You got 10 random picks from Maslow. Check that Stackridge out. Let's see if it holds up. Someone's going to tell me that it's their favorite band, right? And it may be. And there's a lot of bands like that, there was a time, anything related to the Beatles, if George Martin's name on it, if it was Beatlesque, think of Barclay James Harvest. Remember that? They, on one of their records, was the orange covered label. I don't think I even have it anymore, or cover, that they did this like Beatle medley, or they wrote about the Beatles. That was it. It was like a song about the Beatles and their songs. Kind of weird. But I would get into that, like Klaatu and all that kind of like any connection that has those like British pop hooks. I was all in on. So that's it. But seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for 10 million plus views here. Keep it up. Like and subscribe. we'll see what happens over the next, in the future. Mazzy loves you. Take care.